Every summer, hundreds of thousands of people sail to a tiny island off Crete, stay barely an hour, and leave again. Most of them never realize they just walked through one of the most extraordinary stories anywhere in the Mediterranean. This island has lived four completely different lives, and each one left something behind that you can still touch today. In the next 10 minutes, you will know all four and exactly how to visit better than almost everyone who goes. This is Spinalonga, a rocky islet guarding the mouth of Elunda Bay on the eastern coast of Crete in Greece. It sits less than 1 kilometer from the little fishing village of Plaka. The boat ride takes about 10 minutes. From the water, it looks like a Venetian postcard. Golden fortress walls, wildflowers in the ruins, impossibly clear blue sea. 500,000 visitors come every year, making it one of the most visited archaeological sites in all of Greece. Yet most tours allow just 1 hour, enough for photographs, and not nearly enough for the story in these stones. So here is that story, life by life, beginning more than 400 years ago with an empire of sailors. Life number 1, the fortress. In 1579, the Venetians began fortifying this island to guard the bay behind it. Venice was then the naval superpower of the Mediterranean, and Elunda's sheltered bay and salt pans were worth protecting. Their engineers ringed the island with walls and bastions, shaped to the rock, with cannons covering every approach from the sea. They built so well that Spinalonga became one of the best preserved sea fortresses the Venetians ever left behind. When the Ottoman Empire conquered Crete in the 1600s, this island refused to fall with the rest. Spinalonga held out for almost half a century longer, one of the very last Venetian footholds anywhere on Crete. Walk the walls today and you can still find the cannon openings, facing an empty, glittering horizon. Life number 2, the village. Under Ottoman rule, families moved inside the walls and built a small trading community. There were houses, shops, and a little harbor economy, sheltered by fortifications that had once been built to keep enemies out. By the late 1800s, around 1,000 people lived here, selling salt, fish, and goods across the bay. Here is something most visitors get wrong. Many buildings they photograph are not Venetian at all, but Ottoman-era homes. Spinalonga is one of the few places in Greece where both worlds still stand side by side, stone against stone. Then, at the start of the 20th century, the island began its third life, the one that made it famous. In 1903, the authorities of Crete made Spinalonga a colony for people with leprosy, now called Hansen's disease. The disease was deeply misunderstood. It was barely contagious, yet fear of it was ancient, and diagnosis meant exile. People were brought across the water from every part of Crete, and later from the whole of Greece. They entered through a tunnel cut in the fortress wall. Patients came to call it Dante's Gate. It is still the entrance you walk through as a visitor today. The same stones, the same curve of shadow and light. And what happened on the other side of that tunnel is the real reason this island matters. Because the people sent here did not simply wait, they looked at their broken village and they got to work. What they built next is one of the most quietly remarkable stories in modern Greek history. They repaired the old Ottoman houses and moved in. They cleaned the streets and planted flowers by their doors. A main street came alive, with a barber shop, a cafe, a taverna, and small stores selling goods from the mainland. They ran a school and a hospital. They held services in the Church of St. Panteleimon, which still stands. There were weddings on Spinalonga. There were children born here, healthy children, raised inside the fortress wall. One resident changed everything. Epaminondas Remondakis, a young law student, arrived with the disease and refused to accept misery. He founded the Brotherhood of the Sick of Spinalonga and fought the state for the dignity of every patient. The island won electricity before parts of the mainland had it. Streets were cleaned, houses whitewashed, a generator hummed. They even ran an open-air cinema. A community the world had written off built itself a movie theater. At its height, several hundred people lived here, with more order and pride than many villages across the water. Psychologists have a name for what happened on this island. They call it meaning-making, and it is worth understanding. Under hardship, people do not only need food and shelter, they need roles. A shopkeeper, a teacher, a neighbor. Research on communities in crisis keeps finding the same pattern. Routine and purpose protect people almost as much as medicine. The residents of Spinalonga understood this instinctively. They did not wait for their situation to improve before living. They lived first. The shop opened. The coffee was poured. The school bell rang. Whatever the sea brought next. And that lesson travels well beyond this island. You do not rebuild a life by waiting for perfect conditions. By the late 1940s, new antibiotics could finally treat Hansen's disease, and the fear began to lose its grip. In 1957, the colony closed, one of the last of its kind anywhere in Europe. The island did not empty completely. One man stayed behind, a priest, to honor the memory of those buried here. He remained alone for 5 more years, keeping the rites, until he finally left in 1962. Since then, Spinalonga has been uninhabited, but never forgotten. It became a protected archaeological site and a place of pilgrimage. A best-selling novel called The Island told its story to millions, and the boats from Plaka filled again. So if Crete is on your list, here is how to visit well. Boats leave from Agios Nikolaios, Elunda, and Plaka. Plaka is closest, about 10 minutes across. Take the first boat of the morning to beat the crowds and the heat. There is almost no shade on the island, so bring water, a hat, and real shoes for the uneven stone paths. Give yourself 2 hours, not 1. Walk the full perimeter path, which most visitors skip, for the finest views of the bay. Pause at Dante's Gate, and remember what you now know. Every stone around you was someone's fortress, shop, or home, and visit with respect. It also bulgering your vice call. You can turz it and 20 footer wine vost. And visit with respect. This is not a theme park. It is proof of what people can build when everything is taken. Today, people picnic on walls that have been a fortress, a village, a refuge, and a home. 4 lives, 1 island. If you like knowing the story before you see the place, subscribe. Next time, a lake that turns red and thrives.